It's time now for episode 254 of our Valentine's Day recording of the 3 Point Podcast presented by Memorial Healthcare Wellness Center and Skymint Cannabis. Memorial Wellness Center, man, over 1,000 members now, really on track to keep on growing in our area. Included in your Wellness Center membership, it's use of the exercise area, the Sky Track. You can walk, jog, or run around the track, drop in on any of the many fitness classes, check out the therapy pool. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff, and I'm really enjoying the sauna and steam rooms. Only thing is, I pick my spots, guys, because, it's weird. Sometimes there's, let's just say, older, heavier guys that don't have any modesty, and when I see they're sitting in the steam room, I kind of go right on over to the sauna. Just a quirk I have going on. Nothing against it, because
Right.
we're all humans, but
Yeah, I mean,
not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because I bet you there's probably some kids like my age that go walk by the steam room and look at you in there and probably have the same thought. So it's just kind of funny how the world spins.
Hey, at least I put a towel on.
Yeah. We all grew up in locker rooms and stuff playing
Right.
sports, so we know how it goes. But there are some people who have, like you said, I mean, they just no shame,
Right.
shame at all. And you know what? If that's you, that's cool. That's fine. But there are times you go to get in a sauna and you're like, oh boy, I'll go ahead and sit over here, I guess. But I was going to ask you. I know you got the rest of your open here, but
yeah.
So you're getting pretty settled at Memorial. You're one of the regulars. So like you said, you're meeting everyone. You know everyone there basically now.
Yep.
How are you going to feel when they go up to 5,000 members, 10,000 members, and it starts getting busier? Is that going to start like messing with your routine? Now, like you're going to have to wait on a machine. You're going to have to wait on the steam room,
It's funny you bring it up. I have noticed a significant increase. I think a lot of that is the people, the New Year resolution people, and we'll see if that drops off at all. You do have to pick your spots. Being a semi-retired guy, I can go pretty much any time that fits my schedule. And I found out that, first thing in the morning, I mean, I'm not going to get up at 5:30 to go there. It's open at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
But if you go there right around 7:30, 8 o'clock, it's pretty busy with people going and get their working out in before work. I'm finding right now the best time is right around lunchtime,
Okay.
Mid-afternoon seems to be not as crowded. But yeah, I'm not going to say it's a concern, but it's something I'm going to have to deal with going down the road, I'm sure, because it's just going to continue to grow. It's great for them.
Yep.
Also continuing to grow, pun intended, Skymint Cannabis. Farm to stash, grown right here in Michigan, over 15 locations throughout the state. Check out the Skymint Reserve. If you're over 21, go online at skymint.com. Check out the latest deals. Sign up for the rewards program. And if you're in the Corunna, Owosso area, stop into the Corunna store right across from Meijer. Use that coupon code 3.20 at the store for 20% off Skymint products. Our local partners also include AZEE Printing Solutions, Capital Sports Fieldhouse, Crow Real Estate and Auction, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, Success Group Mortgage, and Servicing also on board. Well, it's time, like we always do on our podcast, play a little catch up. Jared, I think you got some things to get off your chest or tell us about.
Real quick before Jared, you get to your story. So whenever we record these podcasts in mornings, Jared's sipping on some coffee. I got some coffee. I'm sure Ted, maybe you do too.
I had my coffee.
It made me think, Jared, how do you drink your coffee?
Black.
No creamer, nothing at all.
Nothing at all. I don't drink it for the flavor. I drink it for what it does to me, for the jolt. So no, I've always drank it black. To be honest, I started drinking coffee when I was in my Ted Patel Memorial Wellness stage where I was healthy and I didn't drink calories. So I just kind of got used to never tasting it with creamer, and now it's just kind of I got used to it.
We get this stuff. You guys have maybe heard of it. It's called Nut Pods. It's a creamer that it's no sugar, but it's like natural. I do a little splash. I'm not going to say black, but I really just a little splash, enough to do a little something. But I'm thinking, Ted, you go pretty heavy on the creamer.
No.
Okay.
Contrary, 100% black coffee. I started off when I was young, just like Jared, drinking it for the jolt, and I had to put cream and I had to put sugar in it back in those days.
Yeah.
But no, it's black all the way, and a good cup of coffee, nothing like it.
Yeah, It is one of my favorite things in the world. It is, like you said, a good cup of coffee, which is weird.
How many do you guys drink a day?
2 to 3
Yeah, I probably drink 6
on a day like today. Like if I was going to work, I'd have 2 tall boys, as I call them. There's this gas station right around the corner, small little, I don't even know if it's a Sunoco or what, has the best coffee in the world, man. I tell you what, for like $1.50 for a big like 16-ounce cup.
So last coffee question. So Jared, you're kind of on a work schedule like me, sometimes late nights and stuff. Ted, I mean, you are at times, when you're calling a game or whatever. Will you guys drink a cup of coffee late at night? Because there's times that I'm doing like an NBA game that tips off at 10 o'clock at night. I'll have a cup of coffee at work at like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And people are like, what are you doing? You're going to be up all night. And it's like, well, we're about to do an NBA game that's going to last 3 hours. Yeah. So, I mean, do you guys do that? Or do you like after 7 o'clock, no coffee?
I don't normally, but I probably could. I don't, it probably would help like a day. Like, I mean, speaking of late nights, we just did a game in Vancouver last night for the Red Wings and started at 10 o'clock and then turned around to the podcast this morning. So I'm not on my A game. But no, yeah, like I definitely could see the appeal of it. But no, there's some days, next thing I know, I've had like 5 cups of coffee. So I'm a little reliant on that.
I don't. There was a time when I would take a 5-hour energy drink, before a ball game on a Friday night. But man, that caffeine just at my age, it just keeps me up at night. So no, I'm pretty much wrapped up from coffee by about 11 o'clock in the morning at the latest. And then that's it the rest of the day, no matter what I got going on the rest of the night.
Yeah. You're going to take some coffee heading out to Arizona, though, right? What, you're leaving tomorrow, Jared?
Yeah, I fly out 9 a.m. tomorrow there's a flight out of Flint every Wednesday to Mesa. It's a great flight. But it's a little bit of a different vacation. So the original thought was I saw Aaron Rodgers talk about his darkness retreat. And he's had a few of these kind of, he had the ayahuasca journeys. Now he's doing this darkness retreat.
Oh boy.
And as you guys know, I've been kind of like, my diet's horrible, staying up all night, waking up early, basically just torturing my body, lack of exercise. And so my thought was, I need to shake something up. So I'm heading out to Arizona. My brother is, very disciplined, in great shape, does all the right things with his body and reading and meditation, all that crap. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go to boot camp. I'm going to boot camp for a week. And what started at boot camp has now kind of morphed into I am now going on a 3-day cleanse, not eating when I get there. I'm meditating, every day, 30 minutes at least. Reading every day, hour at least. I'm up every morning, 4 a.m. Walking, who knows, 5 miles, maybe more. Doing yoga every day for an hour. Basically, the thought was if I just dedicated a whole week to see like how good can I feel if I only did everything right physically, if I did everything right mentally, how would I feel at the end of the week? So we're going to figure that out. And I'm going to be the little test buddy to see how different I feel on a day like today, where I had Jimmy John's at midnight last night and woke up at 9 a.m., chugged 2 quick coffees, compared to if I treat my body like a temple over the course of a week. So I'm going to figure that out.
I would say, I mean, your brother, I mean, he's going to whip you into shape because, I know he takes care of himself. And it's probably going to be a little bit of a struggle, I guess is what I was trying to say. So it's not just something you're going to step into, right? Like, it's not like all of a sudden one day in, you're going to be like, man, I feel amazing. You might be really sore. You might be really tired, even from a little bit of jet lag, flying to the other side of the country. So try not to get discouraged. I've talked to some people who, are trying to get back into working out or back into, being fit and stuff. And they get sore maybe after a couple days. So that turns them off. Or after a week or two of working out, they're not seeing changes on the scale, like they want to. And it's like, don't let that discourage you. Like, they always say muscle weighs more than fat. So you might be burning fat, but you're building muscle. So the scale might not say that you're doing well, but you actually are. So I'm just saying, like, 1 week, that might be a good eye opener. Like, man, this actually, I like this. Yeah. Meditation, reading, eating healthy. The tough part, like you said, is, and it's not making excuses, is doing what we do. I mean, you're going to have it's tough to be on a regular eating routine, workout routine when you're working a day, a night. You're eating in a truck because you got a half hour to quick eat some Jimmy John's or whatever. So that is one tough part.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you got we are recording this on Valentine's Day. I mean, do you have plans tonight before you hit the trip with your lady friend?
Yeah, one last meal, Frankenmuth, actually, kind of ironically enough. So, heading there. We'll see, man. I don't know. It's kind of like somebody was like, man, don't you want to go on vacation and go drinking and eat good food? I'm like, dude, I do enough of that here. I need a vacation from my everyday life, man. So just got
that's the place to do it. That's the place to do it. It's going to be great weather, and you've got someone there and your brother who, I mean, he'll get you into shape or whatever. So I'm curious. I'm very curious to hear how this goes. I hope it goes well for you.
Like I said,
we want to hear about it.
I think the start of the trip will be a 3-day cleanse, man. So that's going to be the toughest part.
You're going to get in the sweat.
You've done that before, haven't you? Haven't you done some sort of like food deprivation or juice cleanse or something like that before?
You talking to me?
Yeah, I thought you have.
No, more of the intermittent fasting. The big thing nowadays, like what you're talking about, is the yoga and the meditation. Don't they have spots where people go and get in these tents, like teepees, and they have a big fire in the middle of it, and it's like they just sweat it out, and do ayahuasca and all that stuff that goes along with that. Hopefully, it doesn't go that far.
Kind of like the steam room. I mean, it's essentially like the steam room. Go in there and sweat it out.
Yeah, no, I don't foresee it going to that length. But it will be a smaller version of an Aaron Rodgers. That's what I like to compare it to. Something funny about that. An Aaron Rodgers-esque retreat.
Boy,
I think there's something to that. And I mean, we could probably do a whole podcast on this kind of stuff. With the 3-generation thing, I think it would be interesting to talk about the different levels of fitness, meditation, yoga, whatever. Because I think there's something too, Jared, you were talking about the meditation, taking an hour a day to read. And, you always hear about how we're just always doing stuff. We're always on our phone. We're always driving somewhere to work. We're always either working or, you're busy with kids if you have kids or, whatever. And it makes me think like, Ted, you hear about like back in the day before social media, before cell phones, before everyone had computers and, whatever. There was just more time to just like sit outside and listen to the birds, right? Or just, like turn on the radio and just sit and listen to the radio for a half hour or something, right? Like there's just so much going on nowadays.
That's true, and I never been one that, can just sit around in silence for a long period of time. There's something magical about it, but my whole mindset is, even when I've worked my entire career, I always have to have some sort of background noise, whether it be a radio station or the television on or whatever. I'm just one of these people that I don't know why. Is it because I'm lonely or something? I got to have something that, for my attention while I am working, but I've never been one to just sit in silence and meditate. But the times that I have, I can definitely see the appeal. It's like a recharge.
Oh yeah.
What do you make of and I'll be honest, I don't think it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. 4 days is a little extreme because that's at that point you're basically DMT is getting stimulated because you're just sitting in darkness for 4 days. Right, but I would like one full 24 hours in total darkness. It makes sense why that would be good for your body and your system. Like you said, Ted, you're always listening to something. You're always watching something. Your brain's never off.
That's true.
So maybe I'll mix in some darkness into this retreat.
I'd be curious. I'd be curious how many people can handle it. We've just been so trained, basically. I'm the same way, Ted. When I get home, I either turn on some music or, you turn on, a game or, whatever, turn on the TV or whatever. There's something, even like, when I'm showering, I like to have music on or something. I don't like the silence. I don't know what it is. So there's something too. You guys, tease me or whatever for loving to go to the beach. There's something about just sitting at a beach and doing nothing, just sitting there, listening to the water. Just, like it's like refreshing, so I can see 4 days though, what Aaron Rodgers is doing. And I don't know if I could do that, but we talk about those times that you go on vacation and you do disconnect from your phone for a day or two. It's nice to not be like constantly hopping on Twitter to see what's going on.
Yeah.
constantly taking pictures and, stuff like that. Just, it's all, yeah, you almost like remember like, wow, I don't have to have this on me all the time.
Yeah, I will admit some of our better vacations, we used to rent a cabin up at Traverse City, kind of a secluded cabin on a little lake, and our whole routine was, just get up, just chill out on the back deck and read. You'd read till you get tired, take a little nap, and read a little bit more. And those kind of, little 5-6 day vacations were you could definitely recharge.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said about that.
It's probably part of why people say sometimes you need the vacation from vacation,
Right.
Because you go on vacation and it's just like you're constantly doing something. Everything is scheduled. I think you talked about it last time you went to Arizona, Jared. It seemed like when you went out there, it was like 10 o'clock was this, 11 o'clock was this.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get done with that vacation and it's like, oh man, I need 2 days to recharge from that. I didn't.
Right.
No
Yeah,
doubt.
I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll have some sort of awakening when I come back. Like it's galaxy brain. Like I just quit everything and like quit this podcast, quit everything, move out to Yellowstone Ranch and just start anew out there, man. So we'll see.
We'll see.
Stay tuned, everybody. Stay tuned. Well, listen, we're recording this.
Patel Ranch is going to be started in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yeah.
We're recording this on Tuesday morning, and we'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about what happened Monday night in East Lansing on the campus of Michigan State. I'm wearing my Michigan State hat here this morning. It's my second favorite school, but number one in my heart today. I mean, here we go again, another mass shooting just down the road from where we're at. I mean, both my daughters graduated from Michigan State. My wife's having a real tough time this morning, kind of, it's all hit, this close to home. And I mean, how long are we going to have to keep putting up with this? I don't know what the solution is, but we had Oxford in Michigan, and now we got Michigan State. And Jared has friends probably still over at Michigan State. It really hits home. It's just a terrible tragedy.
I think that's something when we see these things sadly happen so often, but when it is closer to home, like you said, it kind of hits differently.
Yep.
And you brought up Oxford, and kind of I don't know what the right word is, a chilling kind of a picture I saw this morning was from last night. Some Michigan State students were gathered, probably where police had them, gather and shelter in place. And, the picture was of students, they're on their phones and they're clearly like, what the heck is going on? And two of the students had Oxford Strong shirts on, in honor, I guess, of the event that happened at Oxford. And it hit me like, this is just like, it's just become a thing that happens in this country. And you got kids involved in an active shooter situation on their college campus, wearing shirts, honoring something that happened just down the road, not too long ago at a high school. And it's like, I've seen people share this tweet. Someone sent this tweet out like 5-6 years ago, after another mass shooting. And they said something along the lines of, when the event happened at Sandy Hook, when children were killed at Sandy Hook, and that wasn't enough for people to make changes, I think that says it all right there. How many times are we going to let this happen until we say like, something needs to change? Right. I think people want an answer. There is no answer because, like you always hear people say, criminals are always going to find a way to get guns, or the bad guys are always going to find a way to get guns. And that's true, but I always think like they put speed limits out on the road for a reason, to try and help control, to make it safer on the road, to try and help people control their speeds, make it a little safer on the roads. Why is it so different when it comes to gun laws in this country? Like, if there is any way to make it safer for kids at school, for people at church, for people at malls, for people at concerts, to make it harder for people to get guns, why would we not want to do that? Yes, of course, bad people are going to still get guns and stuff like that. I think we all understand that. But if there is any way to make it harder for some of these wackos, for some of these people to get guns, I would think that would be a no-brainer. Yeah. It just seems like we are so far from bipartisanship in this country. Things are so divided. Ted, you've talked about that. You don't know if you've ever seen it this bad before.
No.
It just seems like one side of the aisle does not want to bend on this issue because it would be like they're giving in to the other side. they're going to stand
it's
their
money
ground.
involved too. Money involved in the NRA and everything else.
Greed, all that stuff. And it's just like, there is no answer.
Right.
But if there's something we can do to try and stop one or two of these from happening, I don't see why we wouldn't do that. It's sad. It's very sad.
Yeah, it really is. I don't, everything you guys said, I'll just second it. I mean, people would point, this wasn't an assault rifle, this case. It was, a handgun. What's weird to me about this one compared to other school shootings we've had, this is like a 43-year-old guy, which is it's almost like, because these school shootings have become so, national news, it's like almost like it's become the new go-to like way to harm people, which is really crazy and sad to think about. It's just horrible. It's weird that it happens at Michigan State right after it happens in Oxford, and it's just it kind of is just like you're numb to it at this point, which is weird to say. It's just there's a new one of these stories. It seems like every couple months somewhere across the country. I don't know how we solve it. A lot of people have different opinions how to solve it, and I don't know. None of those opinions probably fully solve it. Probably still would happen. So it's just depressing.
Part of how we can try to solve it is say what's on our mind. We have a platform here where we can talk about it. And I don't care about the people on the right side that are NRA supporters and say, oh well, guns kill people, or people kill people, not guns. Come on, like you set up, Matt. I mean, you have to pass a test to drive a car, for crying out loud. I mean, what is so wrong with stricter laws when it comes to gun control? I mean, it may not have prevented this one, because some of the initial reports I heard, this guy had no record. He got the weapons legally. There's not much you can do about that, right? I mean, but some of these other cases with the automatic weapons and walking into classrooms, you mentioned Sandy Hook, and there's been so many different school shootings. My wife told me this morning, I don't know if it's an exact fact, but she said she had heard that this was the 67th mass shooting in this country so far this year, and we're in February. I mean, both sides of the aisle do have to get together on this. This is a problem, okay? I'm on the side of, what in the hell are we doing? Why do we not have stronger gun control? Not take guns away, not take our rights away to own firearms. That's never going to happen, and I never want to see that. But we got to have more stringent gun control laws, whether it's a longer waiting period before you get a weapon, whether it's deeper background checks, but something's got to change. I mean, we say this over and over and over, and it just seems to go on deaf ears.
Yeah. And that's the shame of it, is like everything you just said, it goes on deaf ears, because probably for a couple days it'll be in the news and then we'll move on. I mean, even this morning, I got home from taking the kids to school. I turned on CNN to see if, if there were any updates or anything like that. And they were on the press conference that was happening in East Lansing. But then right after that, they move on to inflation and some other stuff happening in politics. And I I'm not necessarily that I expect him to stay on the story for the whole day or something, but it just made me think, this is how it is.
Yeah.
They're going to talk about it for a little bit. They're going to do their due diligence, I guess, and talk about it, but then they're going to move on to Chinese spy balloons and, some of this other stuff. And that's just how it is. People are going to send out thoughts and prayers. They're going to change their Facebook profile pic to Spartan Strong, or, some of this other stuff. And then 2 days from now, it's going to be back to, Michigan and Michigan State basketball play this weekend. It'll be back on to stuff like that, or, stuff like that. And that's I feel like is part of the problem, is it kind of like you said it, Jared, or one of you did, how we've just become numb to it. It'll hit us like you guys talking about it. That's just down the road from you guys. So it hits differently, but almost in a sense you move on, because it just happens so often. I don't know how people don't see that there's a correlation with the US has the most guns out of any country in the world by a landslide. It's one of those graphs, like US is over here, other countries are like way over here. And it's the same thing with mass shootings. You look at mass shootings in other developed countries, US is way over here, and other countries, way down here. And it's like, there's obviously a correlation. Like you said, Ted, by no means are people saying, take guns away.
Right.
All guns off the streets, no guns, no guns. No, that's not realistic. One, because it's just not realistic. And then also there's a lot of people, I would say the vast majority of people are responsible gun owners. We grew up, in mid Michigan where
hunting,
a lot of people are hunters. I mean, I never got into hunting, but we didn't have school on opening day for hunting, for a reason. So the vast majority of people are responsible gun owners. They store them properly. They handle them properly. They teach their kids, how to handle them properly, all that kind of stuff. If you're one of those people, you have nothing to worry about. You would still be able to get your guns. You would still be able to collect like you do, all that kind of stuff. I understand people that are interested in that. I have a lot of friends who hunt and collect guns and stuff like that. So I understand that. It's just to make it harder for the people who maybe have bad intentions or who have a record, like you said, that it might make it harder for them to get them. Why would you not want that? What are you worried about if you are a responsible gun owner? What are you worried about with stricter gun laws? It wouldn't affect you. I don't understand how people can't come together on this. And
at least some sort, like it's like how just something. God, we're not asking you to like go into everybody's home and take every gun away.
Right.
And it's not. And I mean, we beating a dead horse. It's obviously not guns that people do it, like you said earlier. But do something. Show that you're trying to do something. Yeah. It's weird, and maybe the most eerie part about this is I was just actually in East Lansing this past weekend, first time going out there in a couple years. With some buddies, and I was thinking as we went out Friday and had like brunch or whatever on Saturday morning. We were walking downtown, and all these young kids like laughing, smiling. I was like, man, this place like it gives you a jolt of energy coming here. It's
right,
like
it does.
It's like, as one of my coworkers called it, a bubble. It's just like it's happiness, man, and it was fun being back in that situation. And it's just weird to think that it's just the total opposite a few days later.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, 48 hours of nothing going on,
Right. It made me think kind of what you're saying, Jared, that campus is forever changed. I mean, those students that are there, they're never going to forget last night. Now, you always think like with certain things like, oh, this type of thing will never happen to me, whether it's maybe a health issue or, some certain tragedies. And then when it does, it kind of hits you like, oh man, I'm not immune to stuff like this. Michigan State's campus now is not immune to stuff like that. I have a coworker who went to Virginia Tech, and one of these things happened at Virginia Tech a few years ago or a handful of years ago. And she said it took weeks for kids to walk around campus, months, and like feel normal. That feeling that you're talking about, Jared, kids bopping around, with no worry in the world, like college kids usually are, She said it took weeks and months for it to get back to normal at Virginia Tech. And who knows, maybe it is now because it's been a little while and, it's cycled through some kids, some classes, I guess, but it's kind of like Oxford, the school there, that school's forever changed because of one wacko. And
well, not only that, Matt, it's the individuals. Just can you think about, these poor students that hear the shooting going on, are running for their lives, and what the long-term ramifications would be, like PTSD,
right.
It's going to be with them the rest of their lives, nightmares and everything that goes along with it. So, I think we've all brought our points to the table here. We know something has to change, and a couple days down the road, damn it, nothing will change, which is unfortunate, and I guess we just got to keep trying to push for it. Yeah. Well, let's kind of move on from that and get back to, talk about the news cycle you mentioned, but we're going to talk about a few other things, sports, entertainment, but we'll start off here coming out of this break. We'll tell you about what's going on in the Prep Spotlight presented by Capital Sports Fieldhouse. All right, guys, we'll keep it kind of short and sweet in this segment here. Again, brought to you by Capital Sports Fieldhouse. Ovid Elsie. Jared, you talked about in our interview with Josh Latz, mark them up for 15 wins every single year. Well, they had a big week. They beat Corunna last night, Monday night, 50-33. They now improved to 15-2. And this came after a big 2-point win over Durand last Friday on Z92.5. Clay Wittenberg, hit a short pull-up jumper with just 3 seconds left to go in that game. I'll tell you, man, that Mid-Michigan Athletic Conference has been fun this season. I mean, you got Durand, a quality team. You got Ovid Elsie, obviously quality, and first place will be on the line Friday night when Chesaning and Ovid Elsie go at it. I mean, it's just been a fun year.
What do you make of that Corona? That was a bit of a head scratcher. I mean, I don't know the last time I saw 33 points scored that wasn't maybe the first game of the year. Yeah. That was out of left
thinking
field,
the same thing. Yeah. I mean, Durand or Ovid Elsie obviously played some good defense, but yeah, that is a head scratcher in today's day and age of the 3-pointer. I mean, 33 points. I don't know what the story was.
I mean, Corona's a pressing team. Ovid Elsie just must have took the air out of the ball, man.
Yeah.
And it's especially with some of the players that Corona has, 3-point shooters. And I know they had a significant injury to one of their good players recently. Yeah. But I'm very curious. It's the same. I think I've said it a few times, like football season, very curious to see how some of these teams do in the postseason, because it looks like some of them are built for a little bit of a run. So hopefully, they're able to get back get through some tough districts and make some noise in the postseason.
Yeah. Well, like I mentioned, Ovid Elsie had a big night or a big couple nights. Ovid Elsie girls, they clinched a share of the Mid-Michigan Athletic Conference with a 2-point win over Durand last Friday night on Ava Bates' 18-footer. And, you're talking about some of the other teams in our area. Langsburg, they're now 16-0 after Friday night's win over St. Pat. So they're 4 or 5 wins away from running that perfect regular season that we've talked about with their head coach.
Like their head coach said, they're not talking about it, right?
They're not talking about it. We are.
Yeah, they should do it, man. It'd be a very big disappointment if once you get to 16. I mean, they're all thinking about it now. Yeah. He can act like they're not, but that's once you get to 15-0, that's all you're thinking about the rest of the regular season.
There's no doubt about that. We talked about the Mid-Michigan Athletic Conference. Chesaning kept pace in that race. They downed Byron, so they'll be matching up with Ovid Elsie on Friday. Durand improved to 15-3 overall. They defeated Brandon on Monday night. That's who Corona has this coming Friday. Speaking of Corona, they beat Clio last Friday. Peyton Termeer had 20. And you talked about the injured Cavalier. Tarek Bowers on the mend after just a freakish injury where he took a knee into the side, broke a couple ribs, and punctured a lung. And he was in the hospital for an extended period of time. And I think he's finally out now and on the road to recovery. But man, what a bad injury, huh?
That's bad. And I have a similar, so hopefully everything's good and he's able to rehab and be back on. I don't know if he'll be able to play. Yeah. I don't know if he'll be able to play the rest of this basketball season, but so hopefully he's good to go. When I saw that or heard that, it happened to me and it was in flag football a few years ago, but
really,
I took an elbow to the ribs. It wasn't as extreme. I didn't break ribs or puncture a lung. I cracked a few ribs. Jeez. And when I got home that night, it hurt, but I just figured it was my ribs. But I started to not be able to. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't inflate my lungs because my ribs hurt so bad. So I ended up going to the hospital, and my lung was about to collapse. They said if I hadn't come to the hospital that through the night, my lung probably would have collapsed. So they gave me this breathing machine and stuff like that. That was some of the worst pain I've ever been in. So to think of that, and then he obviously broke ribs and punctured his lung. I can't imagine how that felt. Okay, hopefully he's all good.
That's something I'm glad I've never. The ribs, that terrifies me. The ribs and lungs, that's an area I hope to never ever have problems with, man. That's scary.
Yeah. What's your
wrapping Ted, up this segment?
What's your most significant sports injury?
Worst injury?
Yeah.
Senior year of high school basketball with a couple games to go in the regular season, I sprained my ankle severely up at Bullock Creek. It was probably worse than a break. I still feel it to this day. I missed the last couple of regular season games, and I did come back to play in the district opener, which we lost, but limped around and played. But that was the worst injury I had. I dislocated a finger. That's the only other injury I really had.
Jared, yeah, I never had a sports injury ever. Like I was Iron Man. But no, I was lucky, man. Knock on wood. I never got hurt. I don't know. I never had a diagnosed concussion. Just kind of always dodged that sort of thing. So I don't know. I was lucky.
I dislocated a bunch of fingers. I remember one time in JV football, I got up from making a catch and my hand was kind of sore. got back to the huddle, and these 4 fingers were all right angled over this way.
Mm-hmm.
Ran over the sidelines, and our trainer, Jamie, she popped them all back in. I rolled my ankle probably 47 times, who knows, but pulled a hamstring a couple times.
Yeah, I think I might have had a No, I was going to say, I think I might have had a concussion in high school football one game. I remember I went up and went high in the air, and a defensive back undercut my legs, and I landed right on my head. Missed practice for the whole next week and got ready for the next game.
I was going to say, I figured they would have just sent you back in the ball game and just got your bell rung.
Yeah.
Back in them days.
That was pretty bad.
Dirt on it. Yeah, I don't know if I definitely remember a couple times, having the cobwebs, I don't know. I'd be curious if I ever would have actually been diagnosed with a concussion, though. I don't know if I did.
I think I'm having after effects from it now.
Yeah, I definitely remember in middle school, maybe even high school a couple times, but kids probably were concussed, got their bell rung and were definitely out of it. And it was just like hey, can you follow my finger? All right.
Right.
It's not like funny, but just like how different it was then versus now.
Well, we'll wrap up this portion with just a couple of shout outs in wrestling. New Lothrop, what else is new? 7 individual Division 4 district wrestling champions on Saturday. And Corunna came away with a couple of district crowns, Xavier Anderson and Ducky Davis district championships for the Cavaliers. So that kind of brings us up to speed on what's going on in the prep spotlight here in mid-Michigan. And we'll be back, talk a little bit Super Bowl and a couple other things right after this.
I'm a bit of a contrarian on this take. I'll be the first to admit it. But before you guys state your opinions on that final play, I just got to get my thoughts out there. So when this play happened, and the play I'm referencing, it was 3rd and 8. Basically the game was decided on this play. Juju Smith-Schuster was held by Eagles defensive back, number 24. And here's my take on this whole situation. Everyone's saying that the refs blew the game. They ended this absolutely awesome game. It's their fault. That who makes that call? Who would ever do that? And I'm watching it, and I think it's Bradbury said it in post-game presser himself, which I loved. I mean, I think Jason Hunt tweeted it, always take the high road. He comes across so well by saying what he did after that game, saying, I held him. I hope maybe they wouldn't call it, but they did. But the way I look at this, man, if you think the Eagles got cheated, did you watch that second half? The Chiefs were scoring at will. And the only time the Eagles, quote unquote, would have been able to stop them is by praying that the ref doesn't call an obvious flag. Yeah. And just given the situation, I mean, as if this defensive back is Michael Jordan or something, going to get some sort of special treatment. I didn't understand why it became the topic of conversation following that game. It was a great game. It sucks how it ended. None of us liked how it ended, but it was the right way for it to end. It was by the book. It was pass interference. I just don't understand why. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Of course, no matter what the game is, no matter what the situation is, people always bring it back to the refs, man. He made the right call. What if he didn't call that and the Eagles somehow won? We'd be bitching about that call, how the Chiefs got screwed. Yeah. There's no rhyme or reason. It's the right call. It's the correct call. Obvious pass interference. This secondary had been getting cooked all game. It's not like you give them the benefit of the doubt, like they would have been covering on that play. No. They had to literally hold to keep the Chiefs from scoring a touchdown and converting that anyway. So it's just, I hate how this great game, great performances from Hurts, Mahomes is being now basically turned into just this very small conversation about this one singular play as if the ref made the wrong call. I am on the ref's side. I stand with the Zebras on this one. He made the correct call. I don't care what the situation was. What we saw that entire game was this defensive backs and secondary getting absolutely cooked. So I have no problem with them not rewarding them when they needed the refs the most. That's the right call.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. It was the right call. He held. I mean, Bradbury, the cornerback, admitted it. Even Nick Sirianni, the Eagles head coach, afterwards, basically said the same thing. I mean, he said, people want to say that the whole game came down to that one play. And, like you said, he took the high road and he said, no, there's 20, 30 plays that a game comes down to. It didn't just come down to that one play. He was probably also referencing, like you said, Jared, his defense couldn't stop anything in that second half. So no, it did not come down to that one play. My one beef with it is they weren't calling that stuff the whole game. That was the only holding call the whole Super Bowl. And you're going to call it in that spot. And it wasn't like it was so egregious. Yes, when you slow it down frame by frame, like we've said, when you do frame by frame, slow it down, you can see a little bit of a jersey tug. Bradbury, the corner, he admitted it. He did grab. But if you're kind of letting guys play, the whole game, why do you decide to throw the flag right there? And Juju Smith-Schuster, the receiver, I mean, we know how receivers are. Anytime they get touched, they're throwing their hands up and they're saying, where's the flag? What the hell? He had zero reaction after that ball sailed over his head. He just started almost running back to the sidelines. So even he didn't even necessarily maybe think that it should have been a flag. That's my one thing. Did that play decide the Super Bowl? No. It would have been cool if, Jalen Hurts then got a legit shot after that, to drive down the field and go for the win. As a fan, that would have been fun. That's my only beef. The refs weren't calling that. They probably could have made that similar call 5 other times the rest of the game, and they didn't. They decided to on that game. It was the right call. Is what it is. Patrick Mahomes was basically lights out in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, you guys broke it down perfectly. I mean, if you watch that play at full speed, would you call that a hold? Probably 90% of the time you wouldn't, But I agree also with Jared, it doesn't matter on the time of the game. Unfortunately for the fans, it did kind of deflate things, that it didn't give us that exciting couple moments in the game, seeing if Hurts could drive them downfield. And like you said, what a great game. I think I tweeted it or I texted you guys. I'm going to be the first to admit Jalen Hurts is much, much better a pro than I thought he was going to be. I mean, he was a damn good college quarterback. I don't know why I had hesitation that he'd be this kind of quarterback in the NFL, but I mean, he's a generational talent. He's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, and his future career is going to look good, man. What a Super Bowl to come out on the losing side. I mean, he had a great game. He had a hand in 4 touchdowns for the Eagles. Unfortunately, his 5th touchdown went to the Chiefs on that fumble, which ultimately cost him.
Basically, the one mistake of the game was that, and it turned into a Chiefs touchdown that maybe turned the momentum a little bit. But I want to know what the hell Patrick Mahomes got shot into his ankle at halftime, because he sure looked like he wasn't going to be able to play. And he comes out in the second half and he's perfectly fine. I mean, he got some sort of painkiller or something shot up in him, but he's I mentioned last week, I definitely do have a little Chiefs fatigue, I mean, and that's not going away. I don't think they're going away anytime soon, but he's a hell of a player. The GOAT conversation with him is a bit much for me right now. He's definitely on his way, but it was a heck of a game. I mean, both quarterbacks, you can see you got to have a legit quarterback in the NFL nowadays if you want to win. I mean, you got to have a quarterback like Hurts, or you got to have a quarterback like Mahomes, or you're not winning. So do the Lions have that in Jared Goff? We'll see.
We'll find out.
I mean, Mahomes, everyone said it, man. He's incredible. He's the best quarterback. It's him and Tom Brady. Tom Brady obviously has all the accolades and had just the winning spirit and found ways to win. In terms of just like you watch him on the field and you're like, that guy's incredible. Patrick Mahomes is the best. And it's funny, he only threw for 185 yards, but he was just so perfect in that second half. And I know the offensive line protected him well, didn't get sacked at all, but he's mobile enough to avoid sacks. And I mean, his biggest play of the game was a rush to get him into field goal range at the end of the game. And it's funny how he's so good, yet there's nothing really negative around him. Everybody loves him. Seems like a great guy. I actually love how, a lot of people hate on, his wife and his brother, like Jackson Mahomes. I think it's kind of awesome that he's like Jackson Mahomes, like as soon as the game's over, he's out there doing TikTok dances and Patrick just doesn't care. He's like, do whatever you want, man. Do what makes you happy. People are going to hate on you. I can take it. So go ahead and do what makes you happy. I think that's kind of awesome. I mean, Hurts probably my favorite player to watch in the NFL. The running quarterback is such a novelty in the NFL in terms of like where they have designed runs for him. I mean, we've all seen the weightlifting videos of him squatting, 600 plus pounds. Just his demeanor is awesome. It's like he's straight out of 1940s military man is what I think of when I see him, man. I mean, it's funny seeing the video on the sideline of Sirianni kind of taunting the Chiefs at one point, and Hurts is the one that's kind of getting him back in the huddle. I mean, he's a grown man. He's been a grown man ever since he was 18 years old at Alabama, and how he handled the whole Tua benching. We don't need to rehash that, but how do you not like him? I mean, everything about him, he does it the right way, and he's talented, and the Eagles are a fun team to watch, and they're lucky to have him.
It goes to show what I was thinking. Mahomes obviously has all the talent in the world. And what I'm about to say is not taking anything away from him. So anyone listening, I'm not saying he shouldn't get any credit, but I was just thinking how perfect of a scenario was it for him to get drafted by the Chiefs with Andy Reid? So much you have these quarterbacks. I mean, think about maybe a Trevor Lawrence. He spends his first year with whatever the heck Urban Meyer was trying to do. And then in his second year, he has Doug Peterson. And they're in the playoffs, and Trevor Lawrence looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. If Patrick Mahomes would have got drafted, say, by the Browns or by the Lions, maybe, with Matt Patricia or, by whoever, some other team, would Patrick Mahomes be Patrick Mahomes? I don't know. Kind of, you could say the same with Tom Brady. He got drafted by the Patriots with Bill Belichick. So I would just Patrick Mahomes deserves all the credit for everything he has done. But man, Andy Reid was putting on a clinic. The plays that he was dialing up. I mean, Mahomes was just having to hit wide open receivers. It was wide open receiver, wide open. It was just man. It's same with Nick Sirianni with Jalen Hurts. I mean, they run the perfect offense for Jalen Hurts. I tweeted it a couple times, but watching the Eagles, it just made me think, I want Michigan to run this offense. I want JJ McCarthy to run this offense with some of those QB, with those draws, with the RPO. That offense that they run with Hurts is just perfect for him. But
one thing that cracks me up about what the whole talk about the Eagles and their offense, the whole fourth down QB sneak thing, people are acting like it's some miraculous play. It's just the only NFL team that has a quarterback that will do a QB sneak whenever and has a running quarterback. So people are acting like they've reinvented the wheel on this fourth down play. No, it's just because they have a quarterback that can weightlift 600 pounds. It's not really that crazy that he can get a yard whenever he wants it.
And a great offensive line.
It's a Hall of Fame center. People are acting like, Sirianni's some legend. But Andy Reid, man, it was impressive. Dialed in. I was joking with my buddy who's a Eagles fan. Man, you're giving Andy Reid a 30-minute halftime to come out and get parked in the second half. I mean, not good. I loved it. I mean, maybe I've seen him before, but it seemed like they really kind of hammered home the whole sending a guy in motion, have him stop right at the snap and send him back out the other way. I mean, it's something simple, but I feel like it's something you've never really seen that often, or it's just something that definitely could be taken advantage of a lot more than it currently is at every level of football. I mean, it's funny seeing an NFL defensive back. As soon as that guy goes in motion, he just doesn't even watch him, just sprints to the other side. And it was just fun watching him just totally dial it up. And I mean, you never see guys that open in the NFL, especially the Super Bowl.
Yeah. It was a hell of a game. Too bad at the ending was a little anticlimactic, but it was a great fitting end to the season. And the Chiefs are Super Bowl champions. You talked about Andy Reid making adjustments at that 30-minute halftime, which, it's the way it is. It's just the way it is in the Super Bowl. It's different than regular season. He did have extra time to make adjustments. Team rested up. Whatever they put into Mahomes' ankle definitely kicked in. But speaking of halftime, what are your guys' thoughts on Rihanna? You got to get that on the table here.
I want to hear your thoughts first.
Okay, my thoughts are, I watched it twice. I DVR'd the game last night. I rewatched it. I thought it was very good. I mean, is it a top 10 of all time? I don't know about that, but I thought for the Super Bowl, it had the spectacle with all the dancers. I don't know how the hell they got them up there on those platforms like that. I mean, to me, that seems like a major insurance risk, but I thought it was fine. I thought she played the hits that I was pretty much familiar with, as a kind of a casual listener of her. it was perfectly fine.
Yeah, I like Rihanna a lot. I mean, she's kind of in my wheelhouse as far as like the generation thing. She was huge, when I was in high school, then going through college. So all those hits, I mean, they're on my playlists and stuff like that. So I like her music a lot. So that part I loved. I always think the people that rip, you got to try and think about these performers are trying to do something different with the spectacle, with their performance for these halftime shows. Because if they just went out there with a stage and sang with a few dancers, they're not going to do that. So, they're trying to think of something different. Like you said, with the stage, with all the crazy dancers and those costumes or whatever the heck was going on, so that part of it, that never bothers me. Like when The Weeknd a few years ago was like going through the hallways or whatever with all the mirrors and stuff, they're trying to think of something different. They're trying to entertain the people at home, so they're trying to do something. So that doesn't bother me. And then the whole pregnancy thing, that comes into play. Like, no one knew she was pregnant before she goes out there to perform. So to think that she's out there, however, 3 months or whatever, 4 months pregnant doing this, that adds a whole other thing to it. So I'm a Rihanna fan, so I liked it. I like the entertainment. None of these halftime shows really bother me, but
no, they're all good.
Yep.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, the Super Bowl blows your mind every time you watch it. Everything about it, the whole production, all the different feature stories they have, all the in the in-game, kind of like cinematic highlights they roll out a couple different times. It's A+ production. The commercials is my favorite day of the year. The halftime show is the exact same way. I mean, it's crazy like how they have these cameras right in the middle of the show, and they're doing weird camera movements, spin outs, and it's so like coordinated and planned. It looks great. She performed well. I mean, I liked how she didn't bring out anybody with her. She didn't need to. There's some people that need to. She didn't need to. So I was totally fine with it. It was a good performance. I mean, you didn't take your eyes off the screen while it was going on. I can tell you that much, where you might have done that during the game. So what more can you say? Had a higher viership rating than the entire game as well.
Yeah,
it did. I know. Crazy. Yeah, I thought it was well done. Now, where do they go from here? Do they keep it on the modern stuff? Do they maybe try to break in some country or some Taylor Swift? I was surprised. She's never done the Super Bowl, has she?
I feel like she's got to be up there at some point, right? As big as she is.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I think they asked her to do it this year, but she wanted to wait until she had an album coming out or she was going on tour or something along those lines. So she didn't. But I think she is. And it wouldn't surprise me if she does it next year.
In the rotation. Yeah, another one I thought that I looked it up and had never done it. Like if they want to move it completely to a different genre and go country, Garth Brooks would be a good selection, I think.
Oh, dear God.
Why not?
That would be definitely hitting like an earlier generation, I mean, he's still Garth Brooks.
Great music, man.
Right. He came down to Charlotte. He toured last year, and his show down here in Charlotte, I remember, was like sold out. Tickets were like crazy. So that would still be a big name. I think you got to find the wheelhouse. Like, Rihanna, like I said, does hit kind of my, generation. Jared's age, still likes Rihanna. Ted, you heard all of her songs when they were on the radio, so if you went too new with like a new artist, half of the people would be checked out. They'd be like, who the heck is this? If you go too old, like when they went with the Rolling Stones and, at halftime and some of these other ones, the younger generation is like, who the heck is this? So you got to find you got to find the right wheelhouse. People are still going to complain. Whoever it is, people are going to find a way to complain about it. Just like with the national anthem. I'm a Chris Stapleton fan. I mean, I brought it up last week. I was looking forward to it. Love his music. Big fan.
That was awesome.
I honestly think it was one of the best national anthems I've ever seen. I mean, like I said, prisoner of the moment a little bit. I'm a big fan. Some people didn't like it because they said it was almost like too generic, but I loved it.
His voice, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a great voice. I never have super strong thoughts on a national. When they're terrible.
Right.
And as long as it's not one of the ones that are terrible, then I think you did a pretty good job. So
that's true.
No, but I think they have the right wheelhouse in these halftime performances, man. They finally have figured it out. We've talked about this on previous pods with the Rihanna, The Weeknd, Garth Brooks. I mean, Good God, man. Take a nap during halftime if that happened. I mean, he's got good songs.
Nothing for us old folks, huh?
What show is he going to put on that rivals what Rihanna did with the platforms? He's literally just going to be standing with maybe a couple girls wearing jean shorts behind him, and he sings, calling Baton Rouge. I don't see the appeal of that. That was a very wild one to throw out there, man.
Really? So you're saying then the
alternate
future?
broadcast to
Wait,
watch that
let me ask you this. So you're saying the future then of the Super Bowl's got to be just a major spectacle production? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Fair enough. We disagree on that. There's nothing wrong with Garth Brooks.
I mean, it was like maybe Katy Perry's the one that, kind of changed all this with jumping out of the stadium or whatever she did. But I don't know. I love it. It's as much about the music as it is about just being glued to the screen for 15 minutes. So Garth Brooks, I'm out on that, man.
Okay, so we said Taylor Swift.
Swift would,
other couple. Who another couple you guys would throw out?
I mean, Taylor Swift, I think would be one. I did used to think Imagine Dragons would be one when they were like big. They've kind of fallen off a little bit, because I've always heard that their concerts are just like insanely entertaining. Mm-hmm. But they've kind of fallen out of like the mainstream, I guess, a little bit. It's kind of tough on the spot to think of who it would be. Last year's was great, obviously, with the 4 or 5, 6, hip hop rap artists that came out, Eminem, Snoop Dogg, and Dr. Dre and all them. Because again, it hit multiple generations and you could put on a bit of a show. But kind of the same thing with them, like, rap concerts, they don't really go up there and like perform much. They're mostly just standing there, doing it's all the dancers. It's everything else around it. So maybe Garth Brooks could come up with something. I don't know if today's kids know Garth Brooks that well. I agree with you, Ted, that he would have some hits. I think there'd be a large part that'd be like, who the hell is Garth Brooks?
Wow. A mega superstar like Garth Brooks, and he's already aged out.
Maybe aged out year already. 2000.
Oh my God. He sells out football stadiums, Jared. Football stadiums.
It's time to wake up.
How can you say he's irrelevant?
Anymore.
Who would be big? And I think you or someone texted it in our group text would be Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus would be a big one.
I mean, Justin Bieber's got one coming somewhere in the future, man.
Bieber. Yeah. Timberlake already did one. He'd be good again. But yeah, Bieber would be a good one. Actually, he could bring a few people out. Miley Cyrus could bring her dad out,
Yeah, the obvious one is Taylor Swift. So that if I'm the NFL, that's target 1, 2, and 3 for next year, and then just go from there.
Well, we got to mention you brought up commercials. I got to be honest. I don't think I watched like one. I think I was kind of watching, but I really don't remember many. I mean, I kind of was watching, but not closely.
Yeah.
Were they good or what? I know, Ted, you probably were definitely watching the commercials.
Yeah, most of them were decent. There were some duds. I think Maya Rudolph and her M&M's one was pretty stupid, but the one that stood out to me the most was, I'm a big Bryan Cranston fan, and where they did the Popcorners commercial, basically takeoff on Breaking Bad. I thought that was pretty good.
I did see the Serena Williams one where she basically redid the Inches speak by Al Pacino in Any Given Sunday. I think it was for Remy Martin.
Yeah.
Serena Williams, obviously one of the greatest ever. You can't redo that speech by Al Pacino. I was watching it and I was like, this is a dud. Like, what is happening right now? You can't redo Al Pacino's speech from Any Given Sunday.
I agree with you.
That one was. I mean, people say the commercials are horrible every year, even though they're awesome. I mean, you put $5 million into these damn things. They should be pretty good. The one that I'll just say was brilliant. I'll be honest, hand up, it kind of got me. Was I don't even remember what the TV brand was, but it was when it fooled everybody into thinking like somebody was changing the channel. I mean, that was smart, man. I was on my phone, looked up like what the hell is going on. So I'll be the first to admit that kind of tricked me.
Was it?
I've rethought my favorite commercial, number one commercial. I mean, you can't beat Jesus. Come on.
That was interesting. That it kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't expect
right at like the prime time of the game. Like I think it was right after the Eagles scored a touchdown. I've never understood how that works. Who is paying for this ad? I don't know. It was something, man. Are you saying that sarcastically or
a little sarcastically? How are you going to go against Jesus? Come on,
There was who's I'm blanking on his name, Jared. You definitely, I mean, Ted, you probably do too. The like hot actor right now. He was in Top Gun Maverick.
Miles Teller.
Oh yeah, Miles Teller.
The Bud Light one where they were dancing to the hold music. That was pretty funny. But
yeah, the Jennifer
those are probably
Lopez,
the only ones that
were
noteworthy to me.
Was pretty good too.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, one thing that we're going to get into entertainment tonight, but the new Air Nike, about Sonny Vaccaro and signing Michael Jordan and Phil Knight and all that. I think that looks great, man. There was some people texting in our group chat that we're in saying it looks horrible. I don't know where they got that from. Great actors, sports story. I mean, it's just like Showtime, that HBO documentary, man. You got good actors. You tell a sports story. I'm in. It looks awesome.
Yeah.
Especially a story like that. I mean, that is such a generational story, how Michael Jordan basically changed so many different, the shoe game, sports marketing, all that kind of stuff. I hope it's not bad because I think it looks really good and it has a lot of potential. So hopefully it lives up to the hype. I think it looks really good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it. It's got enough good actors, and we know the story, so all three of us will enjoy it no matter what some of the critics might have out there. Well, normally that would be slid right into Tedtertainment, but let's wrap up the podcast with a little addition of Tedtertainment tonight, right after this. All right, guys, right out of the get-go, The Last of Us. I know Jared and I have seen episode 5. Did you get a chance to watch it, Matt?
I haven't
Not yet. And we won't spoil it for you, but we'll just say this was definitely a good episode. And if you want to check out the zombies, this is the one to check out. I think it was pretty well done.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's the show just keeps delivering, man. I mean, last week's episode was definitely kind of like a setup episode for a bigger show this week, and it was great. I mean, what more can we say about that show? You just tune in every week. They keep knocking it out of the park. You just hope that this season wraps up in a great way, which seems like it probably will.
Yep.
I am curious have you guys heard if there's going to be a second season?
I haven't heard, but I'd be shocked if they didn't.
Yeah, because I know there's obviously 2 games, so I don't know if this season they're going to end it or if they're planning on a second season.
I've been wondering that as well. If this is Pedro Pascal's only season, and maybe they do, because I think part 2 was kind of Ellie's like prequel story or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've been wondering that as well. I don't know if this is a one and done season. If it is, great. If not, I'll take another season of it. So either way, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I just love. I think I mentioned it. The zombies are so cool. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not like a huge zombie movie fan or whatever. I just like how realistic they look in this show.
Yeah.
Just everything. HBO knocks it out of the park.
It's well done, and you don't have to be a game connoisseur to enjoy it.
Right.
I never played the game. If the game is the same as what the show is, that's cool. But I like the way they wrote the show. It wouldn't surprise me if they continue it on kind of similar to what Game of Thrones. I mean, they'll have new storylines. It doesn't have to necessarily follow the game as they move forward. Heck, if it's still making money and the actors want to stay on board, why not keep it on for 2-3 years? So we'll see. One thing I'm doing, guys, it's Oscar season right around the corner, and I'm trying to catch up on the Oscar nominated movies. And the first one that I watched, it's on HBO Max right now, called The Banshees of Inisherin. Have you heard anything about that one? It's really, really good. I mean, Colin Farrell's in it. The story is about World War I Ireland, and about this little island village and these 2 buddies or not buddies. I mean, it's hard to describe the show, but this is Oscar worthy just for the acting alone. I thought the acting was superb. And if you get a chance to watch The Banshees of Inisherin, I give it 2.95 out of 3. The ending.
I did hear that some people said, I heard some people say that it's Colin Farrell's best movie. Absolutely. As far as his acting performance.
Yeah, that's hilarious. There's nothing. That's the least shocking thing I've ever heard you say, Ted, is that you go and watch all the Oscar nominees like every year. Dear God.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a job, man. We appreciate you. Thanks for your service.
No problem. When you got time to kill, why not? Exactly. And with television nowadays and the resources you have to check out these movies without going to the theater on some of them now, like we watched Everything Everywhere All at Once. Have you heard about that one? You liked it?
Yeah, it's a great movie. I loved it.
Okay.
You didn't like it?
Good. It was okay. It was strange. It was just you couldn't take your eye off of it, and some of the acting was good. It was one of the stranger movies I think I've ever seen. It had some kind of tie-in to society, which I get. I only give that one about a 2.7 though. It just was a little bit too out there for me.
Yeah, it was a little out there, but it pulled at your heartstrings a couple different times, I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite part of that is I'm blanking on his name, but the young kid from the Goonies.
Yeah, Daniel Kwan.
He's a grown man now, and he's great in the movie.
He did a nice job. I agree with you there.
Yeah, so that's I would definitely recommend checking that out. Like you said, it's a little out there. It takes kind of maybe an hour into the movie to kind of totally understand what the hell is going on, but it lands the ship or the plane. So it all makes sense in the end.
Yeah. The other two I've seen, there's 4 I haven't seen yet. I haven't seen The Fabelmans, All Quiet on the Western Front, Tar, and I haven't seen Avatar, Way of Water yet. So I'm still looking forward to that. But I did see, obviously, we talked about it on a previous pod, Top Gun Maverick. And far as an Academy Award movie, I put it right up there at the top. I mean, it was a blockbuster. Blockbusters don't usually win. I bet you that Banshees of Inisherin would have the edge on them with the voters. But when you think about a blockbuster movie and you got Tom Cruise and Miles Teller, that one for me, I give that a 3.0. That was a great flick.
Yeah, it was. We've talked about it, a lot. I loved it in theaters. I'm so glad I went and saw it in theaters. It's awesome. And what's so cool is I feel like very little of it was CGI, or there probably was some. I'm sounding dumb by saying that, but I feel like compared to a lot of movies, it was mostly done like in actual real life, which is really cool.
That movie's up for Best Picture?
Yep.
Is it really?
Yep.
I'm gonna have to watch it. I think it's on Paramount Plus.
I think so too. Yeah. Check it out if you haven't seen it.
I think the Oscars have realized they need to start including these movies because people stopped caring about their award show.
Yeah,
so they need to have Top Gun, Avatar 2 to have some people tune in.
You need to have movies that people will actually watch, not all these like French silent films and stuff like that. It's
Banshees
like,
of Inisherin.
Yeah, no one's watching that stuff. Put in Avatar, put in Top Gun Maverick,
Hey, Top Gun, man, that basically rejuvenated the movie industry, coming out of COVID and the pandemic. I mean, people went back to the theaters to watch Top Gun. You got to give it props for that alone. And then the other Oscar movie that I saw, go ahead.
Well, go ahead, since we're staying on the Oscar topic. I was going to say something
else. I was just going to wrap it up with I saw Elvis. Elvis was a great movie. I thought an Oscar winner in Austin Butler, the lead that played Elvis. Tom Hanks bothered me a little bit in that one, but still.
I remember that take. You didn't like Tom Hanks, did you?
Yeah, he played Colonel Parker, and it was just weird watching him, and all his mannerisms. From what we heard, just like Colonel Tom Parker was, but it just to me was a little off-putting. But I still give it a 2.9 as a movie, and 3.0 for Butler. He'll win the Oscar.
That means Tom Hanks did awesome, right? That means Tom Hanks was great.
It means I like the movie despite Tom Hanks.
It's kind of funny how Elvis is in that movie, how they kind of just say the only reason Elvis failed was because of Tom Hanks's character. Yeah, that's your golden goose at Elvis. I know you love him, so I'll just leave it at that.
Have you seen the movie?
Parts, and that's what I've also heard is that was a big thing that because it was basically put out by Elvis's estate or whatever, or they signed off on it. So yeah, he did no wrong, man. It was all this Colonel Parker's fault, and that's the reason he was addicted to drugs and all that. So that's your guys' golden boy. Nothing was ever wrong with Elvis. So
I feel like Jared's I don't think anybody ever said that on that story.
I mean, am I wrong? And that was basically the whole thing of the movie is he's the villain in that movie.
Yeah, it was partly that, but nobody ever said Elvis didn't do any wrong, you know? I mean, he had the drug issues, he had other issues going on. I mean, you can't shortchange Elvis in pop culture history. My God,
Right.
he's right there, you know? And
Yeah.
again, watch the movie alone for Austin Butler's performance. It was as good as it gets.
Yep.
What I was going to throw out there, and actually it drops tomorrow. It's been a lot of pub about it. The new Netflix docuseries from the same people that made Drive to Survive, the Formula One docuseries, made Full Swing following the PGA Tour. They dropped episode 1. Episode 1 was great. I can't wait for this whole entire series to drop tomorrow. It's the Drive to Survive. I love that show, and I don't care at all about Formula One racing. So this is just the way better version of that, where it's PGA Tour. You know, they got all the big names on it. It happened right at the perfect time, right as the LIV was exploding. And so I just can't wait to see the behind the scenes look at a PGA Tour golfer's life. I mean. They live on the golf course. They're on private jets. They're partying. It's everything, man. So I'm very excited to watch Full Swing on Netflix.
So what do they do? What's the point of the documentary? Is it that to show a PGA golfer's life, or are they diving into different topics, or what is it? Just a behind the scenes look at PGA?
Yeah, basically. I mean, it just kind of shows you if you've seen Drive to Survive, it's kind of like it builds like the story of the competition between and the rivalries and all that sort of thing is my interpretation of what this show will be. Where it's just going to be following these guys, following them, on Sunday at whatever big tournament, when they're making a push to win it all. So it's just, I love the behind the scenes stuff. I mean, I love Last Chance U when it's just some community college basketball team and they do behind the scenes stuff for that. So give me these PGA stars, and I'm going to be sitting there probably binge it all in one day, to be honest.
Yep.
Sounds really good.
I didn't see the F1 documentary, but that would be interesting to see some behind the scenes stuff with the PGA. Hopefully, I'd be curious if they show it all or how much they're cutting out. HBO basically can show whatever they want, but I'd be curious if there's some stuff that the PGA is like, no, don't show that, because the PGA tries to be pretty buttoned up, But
and it's all up to the players. I think, and the reason I have high hopes for it is because I think if this had happened, 5 years ago when PGA was king, I think the players maybe would have been a little bit more reserved and, not been so crazy to tell all about everything. But I think they realized kind of the pressure to have this social media presence, have this media presence, and I think because of that, guys like Justin Thomas, he's always spoken his mind. Rory McIlroy, I know they're following John Rahm. It's I just think it really will be a good peek behind the curtain at not only the PGA Tour but the whole creation of LIV and how that all kind of went down behind the scenes. So I'm just really curious about that part in particular.
Yeah,
looking forward to it. That definitely fits into Tedtertainment tonight. So. Let's wrap this podcast up, but I know
I got to
Jared,
ask about something real quick. Did you guys see? I think I tweeted out from our 3-Point Pod on Twitter, the new Fast and Furious movie. I'm going to assume, Ted, you haven't really gotten into those. Jared, are you?
I have no interest whatsoever. No interest at all.
I haven't watched the last couple. I'm not a diehard fast guy.
I'm not going to call myself diehard, but I loved the movies when they first were coming out. I haven't seen the last couple. I've basically seen them. I haven't sat down from start to finish and watched them. So I'm in on it because it's one of those movie series that I've kind of kept up with or whatever. But I just think it's an entertaining movie. Great actors, great action, cool cars,
a lot of action.
Stuff like that. So it's just entertainment. It's cheesy. Everyone knows it's cheesy. It's unrealistic, all that kind of stuff. I did see, though, that the director came out and said there's going to be significant casualties in the movie. So I wonder if that means Dom, Vin Diesel's character, the main character. I wonder if that means he's finally going to
no way.
One of these flying cars is finally going to crash into a mountain instead of him always figuring out a way to get out of it, or who else that they might kill off. But it's one of those. I mean, I think one of us just said it about, or Ted, I think maybe you were saying about Last of Us or something. If these movies keep making money, they're going to keep making them. So I mean, they always do make a ton of money. So
yeah.
I'm curious to watch it. I don't know if I'll go to theaters, and watch it, but definitely going to check it out.
Last question for you guys. Where do you fall on Transformers? I see they got another one of those coming out. You out?
I kind of love them, man. It's kind of I kind of compare it to Fast and Furious, where you kind of know it's dumb, but you kind of can't take your eyes off the screen. That's kind of where I'm at with Transformers. I love the action, man. It's awesome. It's probably has something to do with the fact that when that first Transformers movie came out, I was like 8 years old at the time, and I just couldn't believe what I was watching. So I love the Transformers movies.
I was never big on them. I didn't really watch the cartoon like as a kid, or I didn't play with the toys, so I was never that big of a Transformers fan. Again, like Jared said, movies are cool, some action, cool music, but not my thing.
Fair enough. All right, guys, let's get out of here so Jared can pack and get to Arizona. Man, I can't wait to hear about your trip.
Yeah, the day before vacation is kind of one of the worst days of the year. You got a lot of crap to kind of sort out. Got to get a haircut. It's Valentine's Day. Got to do all that stuff. Got to clean the apartment. There's a lot of stuff to do, man. So, yes.
All right, we'll let you out of here. Just want to tell you that our sponsors, Memorial Healthcare, is now Community Wellness Center and Skymint Cannabis. Skymint Cannabis, farm to stash, grown right here in Michigan. Over 15 locations in the state. Check out their Skymint Reserve. If you're over 21, go online at skymint.com. Check out the latest deals and sign up for the rewards program. Gift cards are available. There's big discounts off flour right now. And new customers, use the coupon code 3.20 at the Corunna store for 20% off Skymint products. Also want to thank Memorial Healthcare Wellness Center. It's a lot more than just a gym. They have the cardio exercise area, the Sky Track, where I spend a lot of time on walking and getting my steps in. They also have a therapy pool. You can use the steam and sauna rooms. Please keep your towel on, guys. And also learn more by going online at memorialhealthcare.org. Also want to thank AZEE Printing Solutions, Capital Sports Fieldhouse, Crow Real Estate and Auction, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, and Success Group Mortgage and Servicing. Don't forget to follow us at social media at 3 Point Pod and subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Z92.5 upcoming game of the week this Friday night, February 17th, Ortonville, Brandon at Corunna. And just as we always say, peace and love, everybody. Be kind. Thanks for listening, and pray for all the people over there at MSU. So long.